Hello everyone, welcome to a new chess video. In this video, we're going to look at a chess problem or two, like the one we have right now on the board. And we're going to have some fun thinking a little bit. So, let's get started with this problem right away, without further delay. Notice that we have 3 pawns against 3 pawns. In this problem, it's as if the kings don't exist. We've placed them simply because, in a chess game, you obviously have to have both kings. We need to focus on these 3 pawns. Obviously, it seems very difficult to break through. White seems to have a certain advantage, since they're the first to get close to promoting, compared to black, who are much farther away. But it still looks very complicated to actually promote a pawn without the help of the king. Here, I invite all of you to pause the video and think about the correct move. If anyone is able to find the solution, you can leave it in the comments. Alright, now let's see how to win this, or if there's any possibility at all. First, let's calculate what happens if we push this pawn right away. Here, black has 2 options. The first would be to capture, and if we see that we capture back, we can't get past this point anymore. Alright, so this doesn't seem like the solution. If we push forward and they capture us, advancing here doesn't seem like the solution either, since they would just capture you and then promote themselves. Okay, pushing here, and if they don't push back, that doesn't seem like the solution either, because after the exchanges or even advancing, we end up exactly the same. It's the same on the other side, right? If we push this one, after the exchanges, we end up here and can't get through. So, those of you who said the correct pawn was the one in the middle, you're right. Even so, this is still very hard to win if you can't reason it out properly. Notice that here, black has several options. If they push one of the 2 pawns, you'd simply capture the other and then promote. Same with this one, right? Sorry, same with this one. Now if they push this one, we capture this one. Therefore, they're forced to capture. Let's see what happens if they capture, for example, with this one here. Let's see if anyone knows how to continue. Leave it for me in the comments. Alright, so what's the correct solution here? Well, look, one of the 2 pawns now has a clear path. But now it's this pawn, the one that's bothering us. Notice that we can't advance because it would be captured, so the pawn on the other side has to sacrifice itself. It's the hero of the battle. We simply have to push it forward, forcing a capture, because otherwise we capture and promote. So we force the capture, and now if we advance, we have a clear path and will always get there before our opponent. So victory is guaranteed. On the other side, it would be exactly the same. If they capture on this side, they leave this file open. The one who sacrifices is this one, and when they capture, we push this one. Let me know in the comments how many of these puzzles you managed to solve. Let's move on to the next one. This second problem is a really fun case. Look here, behind the king, which you can't see very well, we have a pawn, alright? The goal is to promote this pawn to win the game. Here, we have several possible moves, but there is only one correct path to promote this pawn. So, you already know, you can pause the video whenever you want during this video, and let's solve the problem. Let's see how we should do it. Here, we simply have to go and support the pawn, and we need to keep in mind the principle of opposition. If you don't know what it is, we're going to see it from now on. This king has to try to prevent us from promoting this pawn. If they come this way, we're going to promote it very easily. It's simple, but the king can still try to resist by coming over here. Now, we would have several moves available. This move here would seem very correct, because now we're forcing the black king to move, and depending on where he goes, we'll adjust a bit to see what we should do. If the king leaves, then we can simply promote very easily. But if the king tries to defend from here, let's see what we need to do. If the king comes here, remember the principle of opposition. We place ourselves in front of the king, and we've already won. Because now, when he goes this way, we enter with our king. And if he goes the other way, we enter from here. Okay? So if he goes, we enter, and now we bring in the pawn, right? Easy, but what happens if now, instead of coming here, the king comes here? How can we handle that? Because if we do this, he has the opposition. We don't like that. What we have to do is, if he comes here, we go down, and now he can't come back. Therefore, we've already promoted the pawn. I don't know if you solved this puzzle, but this one was a bit easier. Let's make it a little more challenging. This problem is one of my favorites, and if you don't know it, pay close attention, because you're going to be amazed. If you like chess, you'll be blown away by what you can see in this endgame. Check this out. This black pawn promotes here, so this king is never gonna catch it. Look, it's impossible for this king to catch this pawn, right? So now this is here and this is here, right? Alright. And the black king is just 2 steps away from taking our pawn, and we're way too far to defend it, so we can't defend it or capture it. But what if I told you that we can actually do both? There's something very important you need to know before solving this. Of course, you can always pause the video, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. In chess, you move just as fast in a straight line as you do diagonally. What do I mean by that? Well, look, how many squares does this king have to move to get here? Let's see, in a straight line it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 moves, and diagonally, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 moves as well. Therefore, moving diagonally is a very good option. With that hint, I'm going to show you that the correct move is this one right here. And you're going to say, well, even if you come here and go diagonally, the pawn gets away, right? Or the king takes your pawn. Let's start by seeing what happens if the pawn gets away. So what do we need to do? Boom, we follow it, but at the same time, we keep our sights set right here. What happens then? If the king comes to take this pawn, we've already trapped his. If he takes, we take, and we get a draw. So what they have to try is to keep advancing. But now that they've advanced, we change our target and come to defend the pawn. Notice that now he's 2 steps away from queening, and so are we. So now, if they try to promote, we'll promote too. And an endgame with king and queen versus king and queen, as long as you don't blunder anything important, it's a totally clear draw. And if they try to come defend this pawn, we're still in time to defend it ourselves and promote on the next move. Take a look. So this impressive position right here is a draw for white if played correctly. So what was the solution? Come in diagonally, because that way I defend this one and also capture this one here. I come here. If the king comes this way, I go here. If he takes this one, we've reached this one. So this position is a draw. Amazing, right? If you didn't know it, make sure to leave a like, especially because I have a great time here teaching all of you and sharing this wonderful moment with everyone. We dedicated a video on the channel to this problem you see here. For those who have seen it, try to remember if you recall it, and for those who haven't, enjoy this problem because it's magnificent. This problem was given to Russian children to see if they were geniuses or not. So what's the goal here with this queen? To capture all the pawns without letting any of them prop. So it seems pretty simple since a queen is more powerful than 4 pawns, but these 4 pawns are very close to promotion and it looks quite tricky. So as always, you can pause the video. Above all, let me know how many problems you were able to solve. Be honest, if none, then none. If one, then one. You can tell me whatever you want, I'll read all your comments. So I'm going to solve the problem now. You can pause the video if you want because I'm about to give the solution. For those of you who thought the solution was to move the queen around here without capturing any pawn, that's not correct, because if we move the queen anywhere, they would promote very, very easily. So the solution is either to capture this pawn or to capture the other one. A lot of you might say, well, I'll take this one. That way I split the pawns into 2 islands and it's much easier. Well, no, because now they just push this pawn and we can't stop everything. Because if we come over here, they push this one, and now if I come here, they come here, and they're definitely going to promote. So what was the correct answer? Capturing this pawn I hear. Was it hard to see or not? Well, some of you probably got it right and others didn't, but the problem isn't over yet because now there are 3 possible moves. If they push this one, if they push this one, and if they push this one. I'm going to ask you again to pause the video and try to figure out what happens if each of the pawns is pushed. We'll start by seeing what happens if they push this pawn here. Alright, the solution here is to capture this pawn because that way we control this promotion square and also stop this possible pawn advance. So whatever they play, we'll capture the pawn. Basically, if they play this one here, we just take this pawn and everything is under control. That leaves us with bestial. Let's see what happens if, for example, they push this pawn here. Well, here we can't capture because they would promote on the next move. The correct response is to place the queen here, underneath the 3 pawns, so we control both possible pawn advances. If they push here, and if they push here, we capture here. And now we've got it all under control because if they advance, we capture. And if they advance again, we capture as well. Therefore, we've also solved what happens if they push the middle pawn. Now we just need to figure out what happens if they advance this pawn here. Well, in this case, the correct response is to place the queen right here, behind the two pawns. And you might ask why. Well, notice that now, for example, they can't advance because we would capture. They can't advance because we would capture, but they can push this way. So what do we do then? Do we capture this one? No, because then they would promote whichever pawn they want. The correct response here is to place the queen right in the middle, stopping this pawn. And now, whichever pawn they push, we capture it. And we have these two well under control. If they push this one, same thing. We capture here and have it well under control. Did you manage to get all the queen positions right? This one was really tough, huh? Really, really tough to pull off if you don't know it. I challenge you to pause the video as always and see if you can solve it. I'm warning you, it might take you a long time to figure it out because it's super tricky. This is a checkmate in just 2 moves. Let's start looking at all the options. If we take here, they simply take us here and nothing at all has happened. This is not checkmate. Alright, let's look at the next options. We could take with the rook, but that seems even worse because they capture us. And after the exchanges, we're left a pawn down and lose the game immediately. Therefore, that's not the solution either. So what's the idea? Move the king out of the way to bring the rook in? That would take more than 2 moves. Alright, pay attention. If you don't want spoilers, pause the video now because I'm about to reveal the solution and it's absolutely epic. Pay close attention, Muffin. Rook to a6, an extraordinary move. On the next move, we'll deliver checkmate, and let's see why. Now we've limited black to only 2 possible moves. He can either move the bishop or capture here. He can't do anything else. Either capture here or move the bishop. That's it. Let's see, he can't capture here. Why not? Because it would be illegal. So either he takes the rook or moves the bishop. If he moves the bishop, no matter where, it's a spectacular checkmate because the king covers this square. And if he takes our rook, checkmate comes with the pawn thanks to the fact that this king is trapped among his own pieces. You probably didn't know about this checkmate. And even if you did, leave me a big like anyway, because we're having an awesome, awesome time. And I've saved for last this beautiful problem, which for me is the most complicated one in the video. It's quite a difficult problem. Why is that? White is about to promote. That is, if it were white's turn, they'd promote on the next move and win the game. But the thing is, it's black's turn. And you, playing as white, have to try to win the game. Look, if they check us now, we can't shelter next to the pawn to promote because they'll just pin us and then trade the rook for the pawn on the next move. And that would be a draw. So if they give us this check, we can't go to support the pawn. We have to go up. If they keep checking us, many of you might say, well, I'll go this way, attack the rook, and the rook can't keep defending. Yes, but the truth is, they have this move here, and if you promote, now they come and check us and would capture the queen. That means we could even lose the game. So when they check us here, we can't go there. Instead, we have to keep going down. And now you might say, well, now for sure they can't come down here because we'd capture the rook. And they also can't stop this because we'd take it with the pawn. So here, we really are completely winning. But I'll tell you, no, not yet, because there's this brilliant move. And when the queen is promoted, there's this check that forces white to capture, because otherwise they'd capture the queen. And now the king is in a stalemate position. Incredible, but that way we don't win the game. They still have one more resource. So, what should we do? We don't promote to a queen. What do we do now? If we go here, it'll be exactly the same situation. They come here and will try to checkmate us. Checkmate, I mean, give a check and capture the queen. So, what if I tell you, promote to a rook? Now, if they give us this check, we capture, and we've won because we haven't stalemated. It would be mate on the next move. Alright, you have to keep in mind that now we're threatening checkmate on the next move. So they can't come here because we would capture them. They have to try to cover this checkmate threat. However, we're still winning with this move right here. We're threatening the rook, and we're also threatening a checkmate here at the end. So if they try to defend against the checkmate, we take the rook. And if they try to defend against the rook, we deliver checkmate. All these problems, I've really enjoyed spending time with all of you. So if you've made it to the end, it's because you liked the video. Leave a big like, it really helps me out a lot. If you enjoyed this kind of video, you can also let me know in the comments, so I can keep making the occasional puzzle and we can think a little together. And now, make sure to subscribe to the channel and I'll see you in the next video, friends. Goodbye.